fellas. Let Betty warm up. I set the idle. I've been messing with the tune on it, even though I said I wouldn't before I did the wideband, but it rained all weekend, so I decided to play with it. I got the idle set. I think 865 is as high as you can go for warm up. And also when it gets above, I set it to where when it gets above, it gets at 210, it starts to idle high too, instead of 750. I think 900 is far high as it will go. I'm letting her warm up. It's early. I want to talk with y'all about some things on here. Some of you deep thinkers. I got a couple different ways of, it's not going to be easy tuning this with a turbo. Let's go into the editor because I'm going to change the tune again. I saved the stock tune. Let's get to it and I'll show y'all what we, here's the tunes I have so far. That's the stock tune. This is how many times I've been messing with it. First time in mod. This one here is like a, that one's too much. You see, I wrote too much. Timing. There's something I want to talk to y'all about. It's worked, but with my Jeep, because my TCM's not hooked up, I shift mine manually, right? So in a lot of these situations I'm going to talk about, here, let's switch it off. It'd be a lot quieter. But when you get these tunes, we're actually in that tune I just clicked on. We clicked on that tune. We go to engine. It takes you to this. You got general. This is what you'll see on ours. You know, on LS stuff and stuff like that, it's different. But you can go in all these little things and mess with it. You can see on this one I disabled the rear O2 sensor, where it's just reading off one. Here's your fuel base, EGR off after it's warmed up. That's what you see. You can put a graph beside it. That's your fuel curve. See, everything's with your manifold pressure. Your timing. All we have is the manifold pressure on these, area intake temperature, RPMs, and the O2 sensors. And that's really all we got to mess with on this. Now, as far as the timing goes, what I did yesterday, just messing around. See, we go to air spark. All these are categories up here: idle, airflow, exhaust, fuel, your power enrichment here. This is something I gotta learn and figure out. So you click on any of this stuff, you got power enrichment, part throttle, RPM enrichment. That's how it enriches. Anyway, let's get to the timing. This is real. I smoothed out. You can go in there and your timing calibrations and your fueling and all that stuff. There's like a set thing in here to smooth out the calibration. I did that on the fuel. I cut off the rear O2 sensor. I set the rev limiter at 5500, which it will do without, I tested it yesterday without kicking nothing through the block. Just where I could be in a better RPM range when I hit second. I did that. We went to the spark table and I rewrote the whole thing. And this is what I come up with. Now, remember down here at, and it all goes, the RPMs are up here. And then wherever your throttle's at, you'll be going, say if you're at 1700 RPMs and you decide to floor it, That's the timing it's going to see. Now this is all still factory up here. I didn't change none of that. I didn't change anything but in these last 3 bars, which it's working fine, but I could either leave it this way and drive it differently. It revs up a lot faster. It runs a lot smoother because it's not going to 25 degrees. I basically went up here to this timetable, and it looks really good from what I know for carburetors and distributor stuff. And I just inverted that down to here. We ended up at 36 degrees of timing. Probably could drop that down to 34 and try that. But we don't have any dyno, so we're going to have to go with seat of your pants type of stuff. Now, what I did, this worked. The only thing I'm saying that didn't work is with my Jeep, if you got it in, say, all the way up in fourth, and you put it in overdrive, driving, that's going to take you, because I'm usually cruising about 3,200 RPMs at 60 in drive. And then it's going to drop it down to, say, right in here, 1,900, 1,800 cruising. Now, y'all's Jeeps with the TCM hooked up, if you was to floor it, it would shoot over here in the RPM range because it downshift. Mine won't do that. It's all locked up. It's all, manually operated. So what I'm getting at is when I switch overdrive on and I'm dropping to 1,900 RPM, say I decide to punch it just to see what it'll do. That's going to be my timing up in here. That's a little bit too much at that RPM. So you always got to look at this like that. The RPM that you're at, this is your KPA of your map sensor. If you floor it, it's going to take that timing curve, it's going to take that timing down this bar here. So as long as I don't floor it and give it a lot of air, it won't dump fuel and do all trying to run at this timing calibration. I noticed it pinged a little bit yesterday when I did that. I was in overdrive. Let me switch that off or I forget, put it in gear and it shuts off. I was in overdrive about 60, and I just decided to listen to it and see if it would ping. So I rolled the windows down and just gave it a little bit to the floor, and I can hear it rattle a little bit of pinging, and that will kill an engine, especially if it's doing it up high. But it's not. I tested it. It ain't doing it up high. I'm not sure if I'm gonna leave it this way or not. There's a trick I want to try. Now, this is what I set the timing at. I changed the whole curve. This is what it was. Let's look at let's see, this one. This is the stock tune. Let's go in the engine. I hope this is making sense because it's kind of hard to explain it. This is our factory. Oh, what I do. And it does stay there. Okay. There's our factory tune. Now, you could, all I'd really have to do is go back here and write this down. See at 1900, write that down and change that table back to that in that area, in that RPM range. Same thing here, and it would not ping. Change this and just keep it past, anything past 3,000 RPMs. Come down this scale and bump it up. Which, your old, say your dyno in a big block Chevrolet, most of them have lockout type distributors, and they're set at 34 degrees. That's where they stay, and they have a crank retard that retards the timing like 10 degrees or 12 degrees to get it to crank. And then after it cranks and you rev it up past 1,500, it reverts right back to what the timing you got it set at. But we can't do that because the map sensor's what's changing everything. You got to think of it like that. Whatever RPMs you're in, you floor it, that's where it's going to go, your timing. So basically all I'd have to do where I could actually floor it in overdrive with it locked up, no downshifting, find out what RPM it's at, change it back to this, all the way up into this area, and then leave the past 3,000, the 36 degrees, what I had it at. I put 93 in it yesterday and went and ran it again, and it didn't do it. But I don't want to really run 93 all the time. I mean, I know I'm gonna have to with the turbo, but I'm thinking about you guys too, you know. But this timing here is sluggish. The new deal that I did, it wraps up pretty damn fast, and you can tell a difference in it, and it runs a lot smoother. See, timing fixed, O2 off in the rear. But let's see, what was I going to tell y'all? Let's go back to Spark. Yeah, this is our new timing table. See, at 1900 RPMs, we was just at 15 and 20 down here, and it's at 33. Probably could back that down just a little bit. I'm probably going to go back in here, and all you do is you click on any one of these like that. You can backspace it out, put in there what you want, and it changes the tune to that. Now this will vary still, and that's what I'm getting at here in a minute. Your timing will still change. It won't stay exactly what you set it at, for one reason, and something I've got to fix on Betty mechanically. Remember when I told you guys to move your air intake temperature sensor up into the air intake tube and it seemed to run better? It runs better like that because the timing stays better up higher, because it reacts to our air temperature going into the engine. It needs to, especially if we're going to run a turbo. We're going to have to move that sensor back into the intake manifold. That way, if the intake's hot and it's hot air going into the engine, it needs to know that if you're going to be manipulating this stuff. It's not enough to damage anything. If it's stock and you don't have any way to tune it, you can move that sensor there and it will keep your timing up. And the fueling and all that stuff's controlled by that. Your air intake temperature and the map sensor and the timing. I mean the RPMs. If it's sucking in 43-degree air because it's cold outside and you got it up in the air intake tube, it's going to run different than it would if you had it in the intake manifold. And in my case, it ran better, and that's why I've always had it there. And you can ask any of my friends that run with me, this thing is pretty strong for what it is. Now, if you go into, let's see here, let's get back to engine. This is all your idle stuff, and your main spark EGR on, meaning warming up. This is all warming up. You can modify wide open throttle, and this is what I'm talking about. It changes it with the air temperature and stuff. You can see it moves the timing around, whatever the temperature is, up top. And I'm still learning this stuff, so y'all don't give me too much crap. If you disagree with me, you can tell me. I mean, I don't mind. I'm not gonna snap on you, but all of us gonna get this, or any of y'all's gonna get it. We're the only ones doing these Jeeps that I've seen on YouTube. You can set your base shift points in your transmission, your map sensor, exhaust. I haven't messed with any of this stuff. That's your enrichment per bars of the ECM. See, that's with the turbo. This is where we're gonna run into trouble, but I got an idea. It enriches by the kPa on the map sensor. So when you get a turbo on it, say you put boost on it, let's go back to the spark, because timing to me is everything, and you can get the fuel right. It's the timing you got to get straight for a turbo. There's a couple ways I've thought about doing this. Now, if you remember our factory curve down here at 105 kPa was like 18 to 20 degrees. If you boost this thing, it's going to do crazy stuff to this. We could either my thoughts is, y'all can tell me what you think. My thoughts are two things. We could run a, which I've seen, this ain't new stuff. I've seen this on YouTube. People running turbos, and they run, remember how I said the other day, if it ran wide open throttle, you probably could run a turbo on one of these without doing any mods to the computer. Because if you run a check valve, as soon as it sees boost, it shuts off, blocks the air passage to the map sensor. It'll stick it at 105 kPa. So you would just be running in this bar down here the entire time it's under boost. So you could basically put a check in there instead of trying to get a 3-bar map sensor and all that to work, because I ain't seen anybody do it yet on one of these. I've looked everywhere on one of these Jeeps, but you could force it to stay into 105 kPa. Then you can adjust this one timing table at the bottom for your boost by your RPM, and same thing with the fuel on everything. You could force it to 105, adjust your timing in that bar. The same thing with your fuel, that bar, and maybe change some enrichment stuff, and I think it will work just fine like that. And you'd still be able to tune it and make it work. Or the hard way, figure out how to put a 2 or 3 bar map in here and figure out how to set it up where it reads boost. But will it enrich like that? I don't know. I can make it enrich this way with the fuel and changing the fuel injectors, and you have to up the fuel pressure. Say if you got 46 pounds of fuel pressure and you put 7 pounds of boost on the intake manifold, you're just lost 7 pounds of fuel pressure because it's pushing 7 pounds back on the fuel injector. So you have to up it that much at least, but we could up it more with the boost, and get it to where it's fueling better, and just watch it. It's going to be a challenge. I am ready. When we get back off this trip, we're going to get a cheap turbo for now, and we're going to put on here. We're going to run a pipe over there, put our turbo on it, get it where we can get some boost pressure on this engine because it's leaking oil. And then that TJ that other Cherokee I told you guys about I bought, we'll build a motor out of that to go in here. But we're going to play with this one because it is leaking oil. It's a fresh engine, but the crank seal's frigged up on it. The crankshaft or seal rods, I've told y'all that. But let me know what y'all think. I think a check valve, when it hits boost, it pressurizes and cuts off the map sensor and forces it into 105 kPa. And we can just set this timing curve for the turbo, do the same thing with the fueling, just use that 1 bar at the bottom, and I think it'll work. We'd individually have to go in and change each RPM of timing, but I think it can be done. And we'll put the air intake temperature sensor back in the intake manifold, so when it does get hot, it will drop the timing down more than we have it set here. This will be like our maximum, and then we'll go into the timing, like advance and stuff for temperature, and we can fix that to where it stays. Because yesterday when I was running it, I was watching it right around here. I set these just at them numbers where I could see if it stayed at 3650, and it did pretty much. But I'm just pulling air from the outside, not through the intake manifold. So I'm gonna put the intake temperature sensor back in the intake manifold. That's the first thing I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna drive this thing again with this tune and see if it's lowering the timing down. I know it will. I just want to see how much, and I'm gonna record that and go about it like that. But anyway, guys, I'm still learning this. It's a lot like tuning software that I use at work for diesels and stuff, which is not really a tuning software. You can look at all this stuff the same way on most of the diesels and stuff that I work on. And you can make changes in it, but you can't, once you go out of it, it don't let you save it to the ECM. So I've messed with this stuff a little bit. This torque management stuff, they should be stuff in there. Let's see here. Fuel, transit, accelerator, enrich. See, and throttle based. There's two different tables for that. Now I need to dig in and research this. This is how much it adds. Enrichment with the throttle. Pretty sure. Air enrichment. Anyway, I just wanted to make a quick video this morning. I'm gonna try to start doing one every weekend, maybe some during the week. Fill you guys in on what I've learned, you know, what I've figured out so far with this. It does seem to, it definitely drives smoother. It ain't warmed up yet either. Definitely runs better, boys, which I knew it would with that timing up. I need to get the I'll get the wideband hooked up as soon as the rain lets me. You can actually smell a little bit of fuel out here now when you rev it up. And get that wideband hooked up where I can adjust the fueling on it. But I like it. I drove it yesterday around a little bit in the rain and got on it on some dirt roads and on the highway, and it will turn 5,500. That's dangerous though, that you can adjust the rev limiter. It might help us when we first start doing the turbo. We could set the rev limiter at 3 grand, that way I don't blow it right up. Well, y'all take it easy. I'll see y'all soon. All right, bye.